All right, so we're here again with another video for this series in Psalms 23 that we are calling Elevate. And we've been taking this psalm 1 week at a time, going through it verse by verse, because it's familiar. And as we said in the first video, it being familiar can cause some problems for us. Like, we don't see exactly what's going on in here. So the very first week we looked at the first 5 words of the psalm, and we said that the Lord is our shepherd. And we discovered that David was writing this psalm having been a shepherd. So it was a shepherd writing about a shepherd, but not just any shepherd, probably the greatest shepherd ever. And then we talked about I shall not want, and in doing that we saw that God gives us the things that we need, not necessarily what we want, but what we need. And now the last video we talked about how he makes us rest. Rest is a very big thing with God from the very beginning. And so it says that he makes us lie down in green pastures and leads us beside the still waters. He restores my soul. Now, if you are familiar with Psalm 23, you know I kind of went into verse 3 there a little bit, but I think it fits. And the reason for that is he restores my soul, I think, can go backwards and forwards. So looking at this, he restores my soul, rest, kind of peace, this unwinding time, that taking a nap or just kind of laying down and just taking a breath, it can give us soul restoration. There's something in there that's good for that. But then he restores my soul and he leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Now, we've been using the New King James Version of this passage. This is the NIV Bible, but it also says he guides me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. So it says kind of the same thing, but this also says he restores my soul. Sometimes different versions of the Bible will kind of sway. Sometimes it might say refreshes my soul. But he guides me along the paths of righteousness for his name's sake, or he leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. He restores my soul. So I can see how these words just kind of go together. Even he restores my soul could have been its own verse, because it means very much in these two things. So the Bible often compares, just like this passage is, to a flock. We're often compared to that. Followers of Jesus, Jesus is compared to a good shepherd. When he told Peter, he said, feed my sheep, take care of my sheep, take care of the flock, take care of the church. That's what he's talking about. In Isaiah, it says that all we like sheep have gone astray. So here in this passage, we see he leads me along the paths of righteousness. So it's almost kind of like the path behind me. And off to the sides, we can see some different things. There's water over there. You wouldn't want sheep, if you're a shepherd, to walk off into the water. I've actually never been around sheep. I don't know if they can swim, so it might debunk that illustration. But if they can, good for them. If not, they'll sink and die, and that's not good either. Over here, we've got woods and stuff, and you don't know what's going on inside there. So the path is where we're supposed to be. But the Bible says in Isaiah 53 that all we like sheep go astray. So every once in a while we just kind of wander away, and the shepherd God comes to us. He's kind of following us. It says in Luke 15 that a shepherd chased down one out of 100 sheep. So he left 99 sheep, went and chased one. Why? Because that sheep was important. He put it on his shoulders and he carried it back. And that's what God does for us. In this passage, he leads us along the paths of righteousness. And when we kind of start to veer just a little bit, he kind of like bumps us back. And then we kind of veer a little bit, and he kind of keeps bumping us back. He's always chasing us. He's always pursuing us. Not really chasing us necessarily, more pursuing us, trying to keep us on the right paths. He gives us people in our lives to do that as well. So that's what this verse kind of means to me. And as we're thinking about this, we kind of wander away. God kind of guides us back. Wander away, he kind of guides us back. And that's what he wants us. He wants us to walk along this path for his name's sake. He wants us to stay on the right path, because on the right path, there's no dangers like falling into a watering hole or wandering through a snake, bear, whatever, wolf-infested forest. He wants us to stay where it's safe, and he's got a path for all of us, and that's very important, and he wants us to stay there. So he guides us. The Lord is our guide. The Lord is my guide. And so as we continue through this, we're going to kind of see how the Lord guides, because the word guide kind of takes over the next verse. And so as we think about this guiding and staying on the right path, God is right there with us as we're going on whatever path we're on. It may not be the path that he wants, but he's always negotiating the other paths and giving us little off-ramps to get back to the path that he has for us, the path where we can be happy, the path where we can have peace and rest, and everything's going well for us. So he leads us along the path, and in that, though, when we do wander away, he restores our soul when he brings us back, because it's good to know that there's somebody, the Father, a good shepherd, that's going to bring us back to the right path. He's going to help us. He's going to aid us back. And he's not going to do it. The sheep in Luke 15, he gets put on the guy's shoulders. He carried him back. He didn't tap him with a stick or, with a rod or a staff and trying to get him to go back onto the right path. He kind of guided him onto the right path. He put him up on his shoulders and he carried him back. Sometimes Jesus does that for us. He'll put us on his shoulders and he'll carry us back. He'll guide us back. But like I said, though, it's a restoring guide. It's not a, come on, and start, that's not how a good shepherd guides his sheep. He kind of uses the staff for guidance, but he's not a weapon, in my opinion, for sheep. And so that's kind of what this part of the verse and this video is the Lord's guiding us constantly. And when we're not in the right spot, he's kind of giving us little bumps back, whether it's people in our lives or situations and circumstances that kind of point us back this way. And we're kind of like, oh, we're supposed to be here. And we kind of go that way. So I hope you continue joining us with these videos. And we're going to go into verse 4 next week with a very special story.